bounce again. Yeah. Boom! What's up, everyone? Marc Lobliner, TigerFitness.com, alongside
Rich Homie Sean, High Performance Nutrition.
Range of motion. Okay, I get a lot of shit on my videos about range of motion. I just wanted to explain range of motion, how it differs between individuals, how past injuries and movement patterns among individuals matter, and also how your intentions of the movement matter. And there are different things. There are obviously athletic performance, powerlifting, Olympic lifting, bodybuilding, and I want to go into those aspects of it. And Sean actually has a degree in this shit. So, I mean, range of motion, I mean, you've even been called out. You've been called out for having good form and bad form on my videos. And I think that a lot of people think they're armchair experts because they read these articles in T-Mag or whatever, and it just states absolutes. And I think we need to look beyond the absolutes and look into range of motion and what range of motion is the correct one.
Right, and I think there's sometimes a school of thought that only 100% full range of motion in terms of what is possible is optimal. Like whatever the possible extent to which you can move to the extreme of the negative and the positive range of motion in the movement, that is correct, and it's not always. And it depends on, like Mark said, what aspect you're trying to train for, be it performance, powerlifting, Olympic lifting, bodybuilding, what have you.
Now,
even rehab, perhaps.
Oh, absolutely. Rehab's a completely different animal. And as bodybuilders, you know, one thing you'll notice is that you don't always, I'm never going to lock out my elbow on a bench press because that puts immediately all the torque right here. And when you're a bodybuilder, you want to keep tension. And you want to keep tension on the muscle. And also long term, if you lock out your elbows, that might not be the best thing for shear. Because bodybuilders are training 5-6 days a week. And again, you're not looking at locking out a bench press for a powerlifting meet. Again, it's specificity of training. Now, I'm not saying be that guy who benches like that. Right. I'm saying that instead of going, I can't even do it like out here, just like that. Just see that little difference is the difference between tension and the difference between just locking. I mean, look at just all anatomical. Also, when you're dealing with a bench press with a bar, I mean, you're in a fixed plane. So some people might not have the flexibility, especially larger individuals, to actually fully lock their elbows. So there's different things like that. Squats. Some people just simply are too tall or don't have the hip mobility to go deep in the hole. Now, that's something that usually can be fixed or repaired somewhat during rehab, but also what are you trying to do with a squat? Because when you come past parallel, you're pretty much disengaging the muscles you're trying to work.
You're transferring a lot of the weight onto your hips and off of your quads and hamstrings. So, you know, this full range of motion squat in terms of hitting parallel, I definitely think is correct, but trying to go ass to grass completely down, while it may be functional, right? It may fully train the body in terms of the absolute maximum negative and positive range of motion.
It is a primal movement.
Right, but it's not necessarily optimal for maximally developing the quadriceps and hamstrings, right? So you have to consider this thought.
And also just sheer size. I mean, imagine Phil Heath with his hamstrings trying to get fully ass in the grass.
Right.
It's not going to work. I've actually seen the best squats, like 315 and 405-pound squats, the 405s, done by guys with really small legs.
Yeah. Who
have really good strength. And there's the guys in my gym who will out squat me any day of the week. And their legs are 1/10 the size of mine. I mean, we're not going to argue. Is anybody going to argue that I don't have big legs? My quads, my hamstrings, my glutes are they're developed.
They're all right.
They're pro-sized legs. But I'm not going to out squat someone who's built better for squatting, who's just better at it. And also, I'm not a strength athlete. While I do want to do a powerlifting meet just to see what I get, I'm not going to train specifically for it. Why? I'm a pro bodybuilder. So I really don't want to because training for powerlifting is a whole different animal as far as loading schemes and everything involved. Now, you can do both, but you know, I train like a bodybuilder, and that's different. It's a different approach. Training like a athlete is also different in the movements they use. You know, I would never, ever have a functional baseball player, hockey player, soccer player. I would never have them do any kind of curls or any kind of bodybuilding movement because you want to replicate what they're doing on the field.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking at it like I'm not a soccer player. I'm a bodybuilder. So my range of motion will be different also due to genetics and insertions. Some people just don't have the hip flexibility or the ankle flexibility, no matter how hard they go at it, to get some of the things you want to get. Some people have previous injuries. But what's funny is that if I look at all the people who you say have bad form, it's going to be Branch Warren. They'll also talk shit about Johnny's training. They'll talk shit about Ronnie Coleman's training. And Phil Heath, he only does quarter squats. But you're also criticizing the best in the world. And I've always been one of those where until you could beat them at their given sport, just shut up. And that might, I know people will be like, oh, that's not, but I know more, and it's not good for everybody to emulate them. Yeah, but they're not you. I've never seen Phil Heath say, do it just like me and you'll get my results.
Yeah.
That's what works for Phil. And that's why I tell people, like, what's the best YouTube channel? I said, every single fitness channel on here. Watch all of them and extrapolate and take from them what you find to make the most sense. And there is no best channel. Shit, some of what Rich Piana does is fucking, I like it. You know, like his 8-hour arm cure. I mean, if I had no job and I wanted to drink 8 gallons of fucking protein shake a day, I do know, but I mean, Rich has some cool shit. You know, Chris Jones has cool shit. Mike Rashid has cool shit. But I don't agree with 100% of what anybody says. But, I mean, if you're looking at just something to shock your muscles, okay, do your 8-hour arm cure or whatever it is. You know, or do Mike Rashid's iron chest training. Do CT's this. You know, I'm not saying there's only one way. That's why when you're watching somebody, if somebody's preaching a certain way of deadlifting, somebody's preaching another way, find which way works the best with your body mechanics. Go to a powerlifting meet. Go to, like, the championships and watch them. Shit, you know who gets a lot of shit talked about their squatting and deadlifting form is Lane Norton. Last time I checked, he broke records last meet at the Arnold.
Yeah.
They're like, dude, your squat doesn't work. You bend your back too far. He had 600-something pounds on his back, and he didn't break in half. Seems to be okay. So, I mean, you're the guy with the degree in it.
Well, the CSCS, but that's the point is, again,
It's a piece of paper.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter. The point is, you have to consider what you're training for and why you're training, what your goals are with the training. Again, when we're talking about rehab, again, a totally different focus with loads and what movements you choose and etc. And the range of motion even will be different because you may have a sensitive range of the motion depending on where the tear happened, or how the injury occurred. So you may have to ease into different ranges of motion because you may need to build, you know, maybe the beginning portion or the ending portion of the motion back again. Yeah. Because, and again, the last thing, talking about bodybuilding, bringing it back to what this channel is focused on, if you are doing a movement and you're losing sight of what muscle you're training, for example, if you're trying to train chest and you're determined to lock out completely every rep and totally take the tension off of your chest and transfer it to your triceps, why are you doing that? If your goal was to train your chest, why are you doing that? Why wouldn't it be a lot more prodigious of you to keep the tension on your chest and not relieve it, you know, either at the top or the bottom of the range of motion? So you would train in a different manner if you really were targeting muscles. So consider that as well.
There's a lot of considerations. That's why to just throw out, oh, your form, Snap City, Snap City, Snap City.
Yeah.
You know what? At the end of the day, if you're lifting heavy ass weights, Snap City is always going to be a possibility.
And then there's so many little variations between people. Like, you know, you may prefer a certain incline over another on a chest press or a shoulder press, or you know, you may stand with one foot back or another. You know, there's just all these little things that people have discovered over time, you know, with 10 years, 15 years of training that work better for them through strict trial and error and experimentation. And who the fuck are you or anyone to say that doesn't work when clearly it is working?
Just to get to someone who we're going to be spending 12 days with, Doug Miller. And I mean this with the greatest of hearts and as someone who probably doesn't even come close to him on performance in this. Doug has probably one of the worst deadlifting forms I've ever seen in my life. It's not very good. He uses a lot of back. He comes up with his legs too soon, if you look, and he does high reps.
Yeah, something that people would,
But people, I say this because these people who are watching this video, when I posted Doug Miller doing 800 reps with 315, Snap City snaps, it's 2 years after that video was posted. Doug has not reached Snap City. Doug just did 505 for 50 minutes with 2 reps on the minute every minute. So he did 100 reps of 505 in 50 minutes. And he's just fine. Doug's doing what works for Doug's biomechanics. Is it textbook form? No. But Doug will kick your ass on stage and he will kick your ass on a deadlifting platform. And his form is not great. It's not, but it's the best form that Doug Miller, through his 20 years of training, has found works for him. Should you emulate Doug Miller's form? No. Maybe. Try form. First of all, go by the textbook form.
Yeah, and then make your adjustments from that.
Exactly. I'm sure someone stepped up and said, Doug, try this. He tried it. He's like, no, I'm good. I like doing this.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of learning yourself. And if you've been training less than 2-3 years, if you're talking to someone who's been training 20 years, even if we're wrong, we're not going to listen to you because we're probably bigger than you. So, and that does make a difference. I mean, training experience. Yeah, you've been training 20 years, but you're doing it all wrong. I'm not, because I've been making gains for 20 years. And I haven't really, in the grand scheme of things, been really injured. I've had injuries. A lot of it was due to just bad luck. My ab thing is what caused my core to break down. That's just bad genetics. I blame my mom for that one. That bitch. So anyway, that's it, guys. I mean, do you have anything to add to it?
I think we covered it.
Yeah, so if you have anything to comment on this, Doug Miller's email address. I'm just playing. We'll see you guys later. I'm Marc Lobliner, TigerFitness.com, alongside Rich Homie Sean, because snapping your shit up, that's not a game.